So if we talk about a parabola, we get y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do here is we want this to become the quadratic formula.
You didn't sing the song. Uh-oh.
We want the quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac. You ready? Oh! Over 2a.
Nothing could prepare me for that.
Nothing.
So no,
Nothing.
I wasn't ready.
I'm sorry.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. Okay, so the big thing to realize though is when we do use the quadratic formula, there's a parabola. What am I actually figuring out?
The zeros?
The zeros, which means in this equation, what's equal to 0?
Everything? I mean...
everything, I think I understand what you're saying.
That's what I meant.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, you're 100% correct. So ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay? Now, just for clarity's sake, I'm going to put 0 on the other side.
Okay.
Okay, and that's because at the end you're going to get x on the left side.
Right, right.
Okay? So, how do we normally complete the square? What do we do?
Well, first, don't we have to factor out the leading coefficient?
Yeah, so the leading coefficient has to be 1, right? But before we do that, what do we do with the constant?
Oh, you move the constant to the other side, so you should subtract c.
Dare I say, I see that?
Huh.
Meh. Okay, then what do I have to do?
If the leading coefficient is not already 1, you should factor it out.
You sound more professional than me. That's not saying a lot, though. So you get b over ax, little space, negative c. Why am I giving myself a little space here?
Because you're going to have to complete the square.
And so how do we complete the square?
Completing the square is b divided by 2 squared, right?
So I'm going to take this, I'm going to do what with that? You said divide by 2.
By divided by 2.
Which means I have a 2 on the bottom. And then what do I do with all that?
Square everything.
So it becomes b squared over...
Over 4a squared.
And if I add that to one side...
You must add it to the other.
Can I go this way? Ah, poop. I can't. Over 4a squared. Now, I actually I made a mistake here.
Wow.
What was my mistake?
Oh, you're supposed to... It should be a times this.
Yeah, so you technically would distribute an a here, which means you would do what with the exponent? If it's squared down here.
You would, it becomes cubed, and the numerator...
No. You're doing a times b squared over 4a squared. So when you multiply this, what's going to happen with this and this?
Oh, it's going to become... Oh, it cancels... Oh, that's right, it cancels out.
So it's just b squared over 4a.
Oh, gotcha. Gosh,
Okay.
now I sound stupid to everyone watching your video.
No, you don't. I won't record. I won't include you. Let's just keep talking about this.
Okay.
So we got 4. So that needs to become 4a because you distributed. Right? Okay. So we have a x squared plus b. I'm sorry. B over 2a squared equals negative c plus b squared over 4a. Now when you said I see, did you mean it was negative c?
No, I mean I was saying I see how you did that.
How did I get 2a? Yeah, that's not going to be that question.
Completed the square.
Right, and we said we just take this value and we do what to it? When we do the first part when we divide by 2, that goes there. Okay?
Makes sense.
Now, I'm going to have to end up eventually square rooting this here to get rid of it. But why don't we do this? Why don't we divide by a?
Yeah, that'll make life easier.
And I'm going to divide by a over here. So this gives us x plus b over 2a squared equals to negative c over a plus b squared over 4a squared.
Mm-hmm.
Why does that now go back to being a squared?
Because you divided that by a.
Good. Yeah. Okay. So then we take the square root. I keep choosing colors that look alike. So we take the square root of this and the square root of this.
Mm-hmm.
So this gives me x plus b over 2a. And over here we get the square root of negative c plus b squared over, I messed up, 4a squared. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's try to clean this up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it all under the same thing. So how can I put it all under the same thing?
Well, you have to have the same denominator.
Okay, so if this is a and this is 4a squared, what does this one need?
You need to multiply that by 4a.
Okay, so 4a. So this gives me, I'm just going to use all this. So you have negative 4ac over 4a squared. And since they're the same, I'm going to go plus b squared, like so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is coming together now. I see what's going on.
Now the cool thing here, the top is going to, I'm going to switch the order here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I switch it, we're going to get b squared minus 4ac, which is what you were seeing from the quadratic formula.
Yeah.
And on the bottom, when you take the square root of 4, it's what?
2.
When you take the square root of a squared, it's
a.
Also, I made a silly mistake here. When you take the square root, this is always
Plus or minus.
So this is plus or minus, right?
Uh-huh.
And this is equal to x plus b over 2a, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, am I right here? I think I made a poo-poo mistake.
It looks like you might have, because
it's just this is over 2a, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's b over 2a.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go through and we finish this, you would have to subtract b over 2a from both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get, I've run out of paper, x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac. Everybody! Over 2a.
All right.
Is that cool? Let's see if we can figure out where we made a mistake. Where I made a mistake. Oh, I just completely neglected the other side. That's why. Yeah. So when we moved it to the other side, right? It's just that was b over 2a, not the whole thing all over 2a.
Oh, okay, I see.
That's why. That's how it's b over 2a. That's why when you move it, you get that.
All
And there
right.
you have it.
All right.
And now you've saved the world. Congratulations.
Thanks for showing me that.